if 30% of early investors have left, cashed out, that should sort of highlight to you the amount of opportunity for you now, knowing that you don't have some of the same individuals in the same space. Like for me, this was probably around the area where I get in, and now I am of the 68%. Unique wallets holding the token, you've got about 74,000, which puts it at number 79 out of 1,105 coins. Percentage held by top 100 wallets, 67.3%. That puts it, near the bottom of the rankings. And as far as transactions on blockchain, of the supply, about less than 1%. How is that? That's power right there. Number 24 out of 225 coins. So again, if you're looking for a place and you want to know where to get Holochain, this is where you get it. And this is how you get max value. Find the exchange that works for you. And make sure it's one that 100% your coin is your coin and you're not getting had. I can highlight the ones I'm familiar with. And again, I'm not promoting a particular exchange. I just know the names I've heard and the ones I rock with, like Hotbit, BitTrue. I know Balancer. I've heard a big one. Still new to me. HoneySwap. I've heard of. Gate.io. I like. Lukia Exchange. I've heard of. HitBTC. I heard of. I like them. Sex.io. Dakuguan. CoinX. BitTrue I know of. LaToken. Bilaxi I know of. Paratex. OceanX I know of. GoPax I know of. Bilaxi again. Gate.io. I know these guys. I heard of them. I know these guys. I want to check out their exchange one day. MXC.com. That was one we had mentioned where there's Holo's going to be listed on MXC, and thank goodness, 5.9 million. I like that. But Binance continues to be wow. I guess, yeah, Binance is where dreams are made. I love it. And here's a chart in the last 30 days as far as the activity. So remember when I was saying we casually do $1 billion a day and we're going to start seeing $2 billion days? Well, here you can sort of scroll back and see that, right? March 14th, March 15th, you had the 1.5, $1.2 billion days. But this is kind of from March 6th and onward, this is where you start seeing real activity. March 11th, it was kind of slow. But then the uptick is just insane in certain cases. Here you got 1.7 billion in market cap, but you're doing 918 million in volume. That changes dramatically. All of a sudden now it starts to accumulate. You're looking at 2.1 billion, 1 billion in activity flowing in and out. Now you've got 2.4 billion in volume, but you got 3 billion in market cap. Remember, a lot of the money that leaves the exchange, from Holochain, just ends up coming back in because people exiting know that they are not going to see the same rate of return within the same amount of time that they would see in any other coin on Holochain right now. We talk about alt season, but congrats on seeing exponential growth like you did in Storage, for example. But, once Storage hits a wall, Holochain's not going to have that same wall. That 2 cents versus buying it at $1.40, hitting $4, great. Not knocking you, but Holochain's about to do that too. And it's going to keep doing that for the foreseeable future, for the next year to 2 years. And you highlight the fact that about less than 1% to 1% of the market is participating. What do things look like when, you have 2 to 3 to 5% of the market participating, buying, actively trading crypto that they can afford? Holochain starts moving to $1. Like, that's the premise of perspective under which I'm operating. And, what makes this all realistic and all possible is the fact that you have the U.S. patent, right? This is what I was talking about with Holochain being in Gibraltar, and Gibraltar being the place in which a lot of the regulatory framework on which cryptos will have to comply and operate in, including, I believe, the MFID. It gives something to Holochain that you're not going to get in other cryptos, like Arthur Brock and Eric Harris Braun and the rest of the corporate structure of Holo, of the Holochain Foundation, is suited to navigate, government regulatory bodies. Like you don't get that in other coins. You don't get that in other blockchain projects. As far as navigating certain partnerships, well, what strengthens this more than anything is having the patent to secure the technology being adopted by, healthcare systems, banking systems, and automotive industries, just to name a few. And to run through it, you can always go through the official patent to look it up via the United States Patent and Trademark Office website. And this is a big step forward for the P2P web. Holo Limited was granted a U.S. patent for their RRDHT networking innovations within Holochain. RRDHT is a peer-to-peer networking design implemented in Holochain that describes a system of nodes communicating according to a relaxed, agent-centric distributed hash table. So now you're wondering why file a patent, and really all that comes down to is ensuring the life of the technology, in that, it's not trolled out of existence, that nobody else can come in and claim to claim it as their own and limited its use, right? Like you've seen it in other places where an emerging tech, thinks they can keep things open source, and then all of a sudden someone else patents their technology and locks them out of the future and no longer allows it to be open source based on legal technicalities. Holochain's limited that. So if their intentions to keep things open source, they can guarantee that. And then they can also limit companies who don't intend to do right by consumers. The sovereignty of self and data protection and privacy are paramount to everyone who's invested in Holochain, regardless of what, side of the law they identify with in terms of regulation. I am for any regulation and any patent that ensures the consumer remains protected. And, from Van Lindenberg in Taylor English, patents protect how innovations can be used. In our case, this patent is intended to protect the Holochain open source project from trolls who could file patents on our technical innovation and then use them to prevent us from implementing it. The patent is also a critical component of the Cryptographic Autonomy License, CAL. Licenses are only powerful as they relate to the IP laws. They are based on having this patent ensures the CAL is fully enforceable, which means it will protect the rights of end users to have sovereignty over their own data. Now you see why I rock with Holochain? And so I appreciate this too, right? Like them breaking things down and making it easier for people to digest. What is the technology innovation of the patent for a layperson? In simple terms, the patent represents an easy way to represent complex distributed data models and manage them with high resilience, while it's possible to design computing systems that don't use state. Many problems, particularly those that are designed to reflect human interactions in the physical world, are easier to model when the computing system has state. The patent focuses on the method of saving, storing, and retrieving data in a multi-node computing system where no single node has a comprehensive index of codes or content managed by those nodes. So In the diagram below, you're going to see our DHT gets efficient sharding and storage redundancy by many nodes with overlapping range of data they're responsible for. We get fast looks by being able to jump to known peer addresses across the circle, and we have a simple way of representing who's responsible for holding data. This model turns out to be very efficient for managing a self-healing DHT. So this is one of the things where I want to stop right there and kind of mention to people. Like, this is the first layer framework of all first layer framework. It shards within the first layer. It offers self-healing on the first layer. Typically, self-healing is something you see in like a company in like Corex, right? Where they talk about AI on blockchain and how it kind of gets better over time and how it self-heals itself. Well, here, this is a self-healing DHT. This is why Holochain is poised to be able to handle 1 trillion transactions per second. Other blockchains are doing in market, and even if they say they're not blockchain, I'd be quite curious to see if this is something they've accomplished in the first layer framework. And because they haven't, is probably why they don't have a patent. Otherwise, you would patent that ability. So, I mean, if Elon Musk wants to do another 184,000 vehicles, he might be able to do another 260 in sales if this became a premise for him to adopt a little holochain onto the Tesla network, so to speak. Again, just throwing these things out there. I don't know what it would take for Arthur Brock and Elon to sit down, but I think this patent right here is a good reason to start the conversation. I'm just a guy. But you know what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And as far as the people behind the patent, so you have the authors of innovation upon which the patent is based: Arthur Brock, David Braden, and Jameson Day. David Braden is a leader on the Holochain core development team who is instrumental at implementing peer-to-peer networking innovations in the framework. Jameson Day is an architect and team lead who worked deeply within the Holochain team for several years to iterate and improve the designs. Again, a little bit about Holo for you. Holo is a distributed cloud hosting network and marketplace that enables peer-to-peer Holochain applications to be used by regulatory web users. Holo does to app hosting what Airbnb did to hotels. Anyone can use a spare computer to become an app host and get paid in Holofield for hosting distributed applications. Each host on the Holo network sets their own prices and preferences for the apps they want to host, and each app publisher sets the hosting specifications required for their Holochain application. And again, about Holochain. Holochain is an open source framework and network protocol for developing peer-to-peer, scalable, and efficient applications. It is fast, secure, and versatile, which makes it perfect for a wide range of everyday apps. Its long list of uses include social apps, team collaboration, the Internet of Things, may as well change that to the economy of things, currencies, and much more. Holochain is a peer-to-peer innovation beyond blockchain that can actually deliver on blockchain promises. This isn't blockchain on blockchain. This isn't putting a band-aid over a severed limb. Like, this is a solution to the things that blockchain has not been able to answer. And if you got any questions, just hit up HoloHost or just hit up news@HoloHost. But you can't argue with this, right? You got the agent location. So that's in the DHT. Agent storage arc. I store all data located within this arc and keep track of all peers located within this arc. And then you got the agent query arc. You got peer location. You got peer storage arc. And then you have data location. Like, that's powerful stuff. But we're going to keep it moving because there's a lot to cover. And I just want to come back to the site. Now, I believe there's an event going on. If you don't know about this, so April 6th, today happens to be the 5th, tomorrow is the 6th. So tomorrow at 8 o'clock p.m., there's going to be another virtual meetup. That virtual meetup is worth participating. Like you're going to get to see more of the ecosystem, and being introduced to people that have the same interest in Holochain, from a perspective similar to yours. It's at 8 o'clock p.m. Universal time, or UK time. So I believe, if you're in Canada or on the eastern side of things, that's about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Moving right along. This is kind of what I was talking about as far as like why Holochain sort of exists in a way where it's poised to navigate any legal regulatory body. And it's because, as far as like the regulations and licensing handed out in Gibraltar kind of dictates what the rest of the world kind of adopts. Like they're amongst the first to do it, and everyone else kind of follows suit and learns from them. So I appreciate the EU Commission sort of, being open and receptive of other distributed ledger technologies, and especially Holochain as a whole. Because remember, as one of 10 profiled, this is the only one out of all 10 who specify that they can handle trillions of interactions per second, and as well has the patent to back it up. So again, if you get a chance, go check out the fsc.gi. I just wanted to sort of introduce you to that. Got like 1,000,001 windows open. Now, as far as the distributed ledger technology regulatory framework, so from 2018, any firm carrying out by way of business in or from Gibraltar the use of distributed ledger technology for storing or transmitting value belonging to others' DLT activities needs to be authorized by Gibraltar Financial Services Commission as a DLT provider. And this is how you do it, right? Like you don't wait till someone's in your space and they start making money. You just let them know, like, yo, don't screw nobody over, and ain't nobody gonna have no problems. And as simply as it can be put. But it positions Gibraltar as a jurisdiction which facilitates innovation whilst ensuring it continues to meet its regulatory and strategic objectives and understands the modern need for robust and speedy interaction with regulators in the fast-moving area of business. The DLT framework applies to activities not subject to regulation under any other regulatory framework that uses DLT for the transmission or storage of value belonging to others. Firms and activities that are subject to another regulatory framework continue to be regulated under that framework. So, and these are where they touch on from principles, authorization, fees, frequently asked questions, guidance notes, transitional arrangements, panel of experts, and legislation. And when you look at where you are in the world and you wonder why this doesn't exist, it's just because, like, you know what? It's just time. It's just time. Like, I know here in Canada, our banking systems are kind of slow to adopt anything else until someone else does it first. There's not a whole lot of innovation, and I'm thankful for places like Gibraltar and the EU that are sort of leading these initiatives and making these opportunities more accessible by contextualizing a framework in which people should be abiding by and playing in. Because at the end of the day, like the end user, you and I deserve a certain level of comfort of knowing that, like, there is some kind of regulatory body ensuring that we're being looked after. Now, we already covered the Holochain virtual meetup. Now, this one's from a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And, it's a review on Holochain and digital ledger technology trying to make blockchains obsolete. So, as a project that many say is set to change the way we think about distributed, as a result, interest in HOT is at a fever pitch. Like, right now, it feels like summer. It feels like summer right now. Now, by giving developers a framework for creating decentralized apps, or dApps, and most of this kind of covers like what we've been discussing before, but hey, any article that sort of like highlights Holochain makes me a happy guy. So this is one thing when we talk about the scalability and it being infinite. With scalability issues it does away with scalability issues by not requiring each node or agent on the network to keep a continually updated record of the entire public blockchain. Instead, each node keeps its own blockchain, which interacts with the node's unique cryptographic key. Imagine the entire public blockchain as a river, and each node is similar to a smaller stream that feeds into the river. If a node goes offline, it creates a fork on the public chain, but the public chain continues forward without being impacted by the loss of one of its nodes. Now, as a green solution, we've touched on this. It uses the most minimal amount of electricity to achieve what needs to be achieved. And it's really no more than what would be used by the node's computers in their normal operations. With the electricity requirements of POW blockchains constantly on the rise, this is, much more environmentally friendly. Now, I like this part of the article the most, which is why I'm sharing it. The question of how many transactions per second Holochain can handle needs to be looked at differently than the way we look at scalability on traditional blockchains. The answer to this question is that scalability is unlimited on Holochain. And although simple, the idea of transactions per second doesn't apply to Holochain due to its inherent nature. So the developers have used an analogy of a dance floor to better explain. You can look at a dance floor and immediately know who's dancing ballet and who's dancing hip hop. How many dancers can be dancing at the same time? As many will fit on the dance floor. It's apparent that there's no need to use a trusted centralized third party to keep track of the dancers and what style of dance they're performing. So Holochain as an app framework does not pose any limit of transactions per second because there's no place where all transactions have to go. It's like asking how many words can humanity speak per second. It's an irrelevant question. With every human being born, that number increases. The same for Holochain. And that's already how you get to that trillion of transactions per second. That's how you get to, an infinite scalability. And they've also got a comprehensive map, I hope it's still active, that covers on the types of apps you can develop on the Holo Hackers map. As far as language support, a lot of things have been written in Rust. And I like how they give a little breakdown on, our two main guys, Arthur Brock and Eric Harris Braun. So here they touch on the co-founders. Between the two of them, they've got 34 years of programming experience. Arthur Brock, who's the chief architect behind the Holochain, has been a contract coder since 1984, working with AI systems and as an online alternative currency system designer since 2001. So our guy has been an alternative currency system designer for the past 19 years. Eric Harris Braun is the executive engineer behind Holochain. He has also been a contract coder since 1984, a full-time programmer since 1988, a designer of peer-to-peer communication applications, glassbee.com for many years, a full-stack web developer, as well as having experience in system design, framework design, etc. Rounding out the team are 12 additional developers, UX, UI experts, and software engineers. The core developers are David Meister, an Australian software architect with over a decade of experience, and Nicholas Luck, a German software architect who also has over a decade of experience developing elegant software solutions. I don't know how much that has changed since now, but the fact that, between Eric Harris Braun and Arthur Brock, like, Arthur Brock, wow. Like, I think now that we're in 2021, he has 20 years as an online alternative currency system designer. How many other projects on market have someone with that level of experience at the helm? Eric Harris Braun, a coder since 1984, and like the versatility of that experience, a designer of peer-to-peer communication applications, like from 1984 till now, like almost 36 years of experience each. And that's at the helm of this ship. That's why we call it a yacht. Like, there's no stopping for it. And when the mainnet launches, it is going to go nuts. Like, I know at one point the Telegram community was crazy. The Telegram is now kind of like inactive. But at one point, like, yeah, you had 12,500 members. When they did their ICO back in 2018, they raised just roughly 20 million at the time. Now you're looking at something with a backing of close to like 5 billion US. They talk about Holofuel. We've been talking about Holofuel for so long, and I know some of y'all love Holofuel. Let's see, the Holochain team calls it a contractual service obligation because it can be earned and redeemed for hosting on the Holochain platform. Its primary uses for Holochain application have providers to pay Holohost for their services. As far as mutual credit, unlike other cryptocurrencies which are primarily used for speculation, Holofuel is not tokens created from nothing. It is a double-entry crypto accounting framework that provides scalability, transparency, and accountability. And it's asset-backed. Holofuel is backed by the computing power of hosts across the globe. And it's value stable. The value of Holofuel is connected to the computing capacity of the network of hosts. This capacity evolves, changes slowly, and isn't subject to huge spikes and crashes in the way other speculative tokens are. Ultimately, this makes Holofuel a hosting utility token, and there are already several competitors who are much further along in development. Projects like Sia, Storj, and Filecoin all reward users for sharing their computing power, and hard drive space or bandwidth capacity. So, about Sia, Storj, if I'm correct, is trading for like probably just above $4. CAD. Filecoin is trading for about $240 CAD. I think that's something like 180 USD. And this is 2019, so like, again, this is a real opportunity that they recognized it, they've highlighted, and this is 2019. Whatever frustrations people have, it's been worth it. It's been worth it. The growing pains have been worth it, because now all the hurdles, we've passed all the hurdles, and there's no more questions about this being a valid project. We've been more than validated, and it's just a matter of seeing like the App Store come to be, and that's 3 to 6 months away. So I'd be remiss to be in my feelings about anything more than that. And I'm just going to take it back to some more hot action. I know that's hot BNB. You'd probably prefer hot USD. But again, it has this, what's unique about it is how it just builds in steps. Even if you see retracement, it's minor in the grand scheme of things, because everybody who's exiting tends to re-enter. And when they see the rate at which it climbs, imagine selling here and realizing you could have waited, a whole 6 hours and been up. That's why it's like, go ahead and take your profits by all means, but if you're not reinvesting the profits you made, at intervals like this, then really all you've done is missed the wave, and you're paying more later on. But hey, at the same time too, this is why you play. You don't just play to watch money grow. You play to make money, take money, right? So I'll never be against anybody, but just know that everyone's in it intrinsically for themselves, right? Now let's see what the tweets are saying. I like this one. I saved this one from World of Holochain because I really liked it. Did you know that with Holochain, you can become your own internet service provider and create your own P2P internet and be paid in Holo fuel? Yes, I did. And for those of you who didn't, I want this for you. I want you to understand the benefit of it, right? So one thing you get asked a lot is in regards to mesh networks. You might want to familiarize yourself with that. But here they talk about a handful of telecommunication companies that have a monopoly over bandwidth. This is true to countries around the world and has enabled governments in places like Turkey and Egypt to turn off the internet whenever they feel like it. Furthermore, some internet providers, see, this is why we have such a large following from Turkey. If you've ever been in a country where the internet has turned off, you're going to want to be in a position where you can host your own internet services. I'm sorry, but that is something that scares a lot of people, is having your internet turned off. And furthermore, some internet providers want to charge different rates for different kinds of data, making the net less neutral. But for long, access to the internet could look like your cable bill. Selective channels of access already there. I already have literally selective channels, I can't lie. Today, the only organization that can benefit from adding bandwidth to the internet, and thus the only ones incentivized to do so, are telecom companies. They lay cable and put up towers and build customers for internet access on a monthly basis. So what's coming soon is Holo's microtransaction system could make it possible for anyone who puts up an antenna or shares a bit of their cell phone bandwidth to get rewarded for the increased internet access that they are creating. Similar to how Holo leverages idle storage and processing power, it can also make us better use of idle bandwidth or incentivize the creation of additional bandwidth as well. Jane could put up an antenna and choose to relay data for free for her friends or for a fee of strangers, thus extending network capacity. So, I mean, that kind of coincides with the vision of growing an ecosystem of peer-to-peer applications and an expanding peer-to-peer infrastructure. Whoa. They touch on the and really what they're aiming for is creating a more resilient system. They highlight some of the issues basically when the hurricane impacted Puerto Rico. But establishing a connection to data centers in the Silicon in order to send message to family members a few kilometers away. But for most social media messaging applications today, that's what's required. So I do see the value in this. I do see it making and creating a more resilient system. I don't even want to know if it's safe to keep scrolling. More on the virtual meetup. We'd already been here. So we already touched on this part. And again, this is where you're going to be able to find the white papers, the green papers on Holo host. Holo.host/white papers/ and that'll give you access to the currency paper, to the white paper on the tech itself, and as well the green paper, and it just explains how the business model and the funding supporting it. So here's the whole table of contents, and it's definitely worth diving into. At some point, you let me know. I'll be happy to highlight key points from it. But I kind of gave you an idea as to where it tends to be, right? So you get to own your own data, you get to control your identity, have automatic backups, customize your user experience, choose how to connect their application, decide with whom to share their private information, and transact without dependence on banks or governments. In many ways you could say banks and governments are now dependent on you. And what's sick about it is programmers can leverage rapid application development to quickly build fully P2P web application designed to operate on the scale of Twitter or Facebook with no centralized data centers or infrastructure. Each user just brings their own device to share a small amount of computing and storage. This part's again, we've already mentioned this before, but it provides an underlying cryptographic fabric to maintain data integrity across unlimited periods without requiring consensus. Integrity without consensus means immediate and efficient processing. No proof of work, no proof of stake, no energy wasted on mining, no bottleneck, nor global delays. How do you like them apples? Which is why, I don't know how many times I gotta say this, but I'm gonna say it one more time. We provide optimizations to enable the tracking and billing for the trillions of network interactions per second required to run a global scale decentralized hosting platform. Just in case, a couple times wasn't enough. So there's red grid one more time, just so you can see what I was talking about. Here's another article on the Internet of Energy, and its purpose, being to optimize the efficiency of the generation, transmission, and utilization of electricity. The technology enables IOE by creating networks of sensors that have numerous smart grid applications. These include power monitoring, demand-side energy management, distributed storage, and renewable energy integration, among others. The IoT is forecast to add $14 trillion to the global economy by 2030, and the market for digital services that enable the IoE is likely to grow to $89.4 billion by 2030. Smart sensor networks are relatively inexpensive, so they can be broadly deployed at scale, resulting in a tremendous amount of data, which can be analyzed to reveal ways to optimize grid efficiencies. This is probably like the best part right here. Remember I was talking about like IoT and Holochain being able to complement each other in the sphere of things, and being able to not operate in near real time, but being able to operate in real time. General Electric gets it because they understand the IoT allows it to monitor their equipment in real time. This is the benefit of being able to do 1 trillion transactions per second. So again, this article is going to be included in it. You're going to have access to that. You're going to be able to read and see what I've been sharing. Now we're going to get into a little more hot action. Again, I just kind of wanted to highlight to you that no matter what happens, you're going to see these horizontal stretches, and it's going to climb in steps. No matter what happens, it could come back down here, even here, maybe here. But what'll happen is it'll do this, climb back up, a couple steps, and then shoot. That has literally been like Holochain inside and out. We've already covered all this. But let's hear what we can find out more about, give you a little more detail on Brock, Mr. Arthur Brock and Eric Harris Braun. So they started working on the project in December 2016 as part of the MetaCurrency project, a developer of tools and technology designed to power a future P2P economy. Holo is partially modeled after Scepter, a cooperative P2P framework for dApps that the two had previously worked on. So with Brock, he's got experience coding alternative currency systems as the founder of VeChain, a company that develops community building tools, including more than 100 alternative currency solutions. He also co-founded social enterprise incubator Emerging Leader Labs and founded open source education starter kit Agile Learning Centers. In March 2019, Brock was named a fellow of the New Zealand-based Edmund Hillary Fellowship. Jeez. So, and then with Harris Braun, started program full-time in 1988 and is the founder of Glassbeat Software, a developer for peer-to-peer communication software, as well as co-founder of Emerging Leader Labs alongside Brock. In 2003, he co-founded Harris Braun Enterprises, a freelance software development and consulting firm. He has also served on the advisory board of the Schumacher Center for New Economics. So you can scroll through the rest of this for yourself, because we've covered a fair bit of it. That's SafeMoon protocol. I know some people have been asking about it. I found it to be rather easy to navigate. You just got to wrap your head around being able to do in-app purchases and then using the internet in-app. It's neat. It's neat stuff. It's new to me. Pancake swap. Every time you hear pancake swap, that should just kind of highlight to you that there's money to be made if that's the only way you can go and get it. But just be careful, be smart, know what you're dealing with. I did not have much difficulty acquiring my SafeMoon. And as far as what you need to learn about the coin, do your research. This isn't dedicated to SafeMoon. This is just something that was still in my browser because I was going through hell trying to acquire it. Right now, they got 250,000 plus record holders, 48 million liquidity generated. Still discussing the market cap, but there will be a burn at some point. So whatever you're holding might be worth it to hold. We can go through this at a later point in time if you want me to. I don't mind. But I think this is kind of what drew me to SafeMoon, and it's you're going to finish the exchange and their charity project. They're going to finish integrations within our first African market and begin the next integrations with additional African markets. We will create an African-based SafeMoon office and begin hiring in those markets to create jobs. We'll be taking donations for our next charity project and begin a vote on the next project as well. We'll be establishing a SafeMoon scholarship in this quarter as well. So if people want to know why I'm going to throw some coin at SafeMoon, that's precisely why. I'm for an NFT exchange and them releasing the first video game with SafeMoon integrated, but that's what got my attention. Community building is very important to me. If I go through a corporate structure and I got to scroll all the way down to the bottom, I'm not going to say which company, but when you start scrolling through, say something with a $50 billion cap, and you get to see the corporate structure, you kind of wonder what they're going to do in the community. And I don't really want lip service. I want to see results. I want to see people actively engaging African communities of the diaspora. Back to the hot USD. This is what things have looked like for the past week, right? People are yo, doesn't that mean it's going to crash? I'm only if you don't know market. I've been here since 0.65 billion in market. And the more I continue to see, I know that all we're going to be doing is hitting a new series of all-time highs. and creating higher lows. So as far as like my concerns, we don't have the same concerns. Taking a look at the 1 minute charts. This is where we were at about 10:30. From 10:30 to now, I'm digging it. Minor retracement, but not really. Like, yo, whatever the selling pressure is, there's a buying response. And this is something I've come to like understand with Holochain. Sometimes I'll be up 1,000 a day. I've had days like this where I've been down $5,000, and it's like, the end of the world. I should have took more profit. Yeah, I already took profit. I'm not really concerned. But I also have my points in reference, like where I'm going to take profit. Some people ask me, like, is there a dip? Is there a dip coming on? Like, don't ask me. Like, I gotta ask you, do you have time to monitor the charts? Because I could tell you when it's gonna be, but if you're out grocery shopping or driving or doing whatever you need to do, like, I can't execute on your own behalf. So like, it's a lot easier to recognize a dip when you're near your computer or you're near your phone and you're ready to execute. I don't watch too much, but I need stuff in real time. I need stuff accurate as can be. And I'd love to see this thing push some more. There's no reason why it can't. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see an update, because I'm like, sometimes you got to refresh your charts. But that's a lot of activity, and I love it. I think like the other day was the first time I ever actually like did a trend capture just to sort of see what market's gonna be like. I'll probably end up putting that like on 2.5x speed so people can see like what $1 billion in and out looks like. So I saw this question online. I thought this was kind of cute. I hope this answers your question. Can Holochain infrastructure provide the needed tools to build a virtual bank where each user owns his own local bank branch? A virtual bank or wallet holds a balance in cryptocurrencies and can convert this into fiat and purchase goods with it. Is this an out of context crazy idea? So here they say, yes, absolutely possible. You've exactly described mutual credit accounting, and Holochain was designed to support mutual credit as a primary use case. Holofuel will be a mutual credit currency. And then here's 2 articles that talks about mutual credit in general without getting too much into Holochain. So you've got one from hackernoon.com. I think we've actually already shared that. And then blockchain, simple scalable cryptocurrencies, which is dope. And you're going to find a fair bit on Reddit. But, yeah. I hope that answers your question. You'll see that in the near future. Like, Holochain's already been working with a lot of DeFi related projects, and a wallet's not out of the question. The question is, basically being able to convert your cryptocurrencies to fiat, and all you would do is open up something in the App Store, through your wallet, and make that conversion, and essentially sell and wait for someone else to process that transaction. That's really about it. There's completely doable. Another little article you might want to read. This one's from August 2020. It's by Paul Diost. I'm not going to go into too too much depth on it, but I just figured since y'all like information and I spread information like love, this was one of the ones that I've enjoyed. Skip past a lot of the stuff when he talks about bartering and explaining how markets used to work. I don't need to hear the story of the first knife, so to speak, again. I need to hear something a little more current. But it's a good explanation for people still getting introduced to, the value of cryptocurrencies, and that how it's necessary for like the change in what we're seeing. So that's kind of like where we're at right now. There's two things that I lost out on that I really want to share with you. So the EU Commission is talking about shaping Europe's digital future. So they believe that blockchain technology, when properly used, can provide significant benefits to European industry, the European economy, and to European society as a whole. For this reason, the European Commission is supporting blockchain on the policy, legal, and regulatory and funding fronts. So with blockchain technology allows people and organizations who may not know or trust each other to collectively agree on and permanently record information without a third-party authority. So I dig it. And these are the most important elements of the EU Commission's strategy. There's the European Blockchain Partnership that develops joint visions and initiatives and creating a pan-European approach. European Blockchain Service Infrastructure, EBSI, a lot more countries you're actually going to see operating their own services infrastructure. Like out in China, they got the blockchain service network. So before every country or a group of countries are going to want to create their own service networks simply so that they're not ever at an issue with an authoritative regime, right? Like, I'll keep it simple. Global politics, America requests Canada to execute a treaty on, I can't pronounce her name. Minan Wang? I could be wrong. Forgive me. But anyways, Chinese exec gets detained in Canada due to American treaty extraditions. China's response, they detained 2 Canadian officials or execs and claim they're spies. No proof, no evidence, nothing is shown. Imagine you running, your blockchain services through a government and your own country has an issue with that government. And you're caught in the crossfire because you're using their service network to facilitate these deals. This is why, you really got to think about where you're doing business and how, in some ways, certain things can affect business. They're also offering a comprehensive legal framework that will create legal certainty through a pro-innovation framework in the areas of digital assets and smart contracts. There's also innovation funding. The EU provides funding for blockchain research and innovation both in the form of grants and by supporting investments in startups. And then the interoperability and standards for blockchain. The European Commission believes strongly in the importance of standards in promoting blockchain technology and looks to engage with all relevant bodies globally. So, you go top down, Holochain strikes it big. And this is one of those places as far as interoperability and standards for blockchain. Because, again, as a layer 1 framework, you can dev and put whatever you want onto that layer 1. And then they've also got the EU Blockchain Observatory and Forum. So The big picture here is a European way of using blockchain technology will build a more secure online environment for EU citizens and businesses. I dig it. And again, this is why I want to take my fintech course at UFT. Fintech comprises all applications of technology to financial services, usually in a digital context. It includes innovation in existing markets as well as more disruptive changes that create new technologies and markets. The innovation fosters competition, creates new business models, and offers opportunities for small businesses, both as drivers of such change and users of its outcomes. And then I like this part right here. The token economy's additional value. Tokens are digital representations of value that can be exchanged against goods or services. They can take a variety of forms, financial or not, and are based on DOT. Moving towards a token economy implies an ever closer integration of production activities, including upstream and downstream processes, sourcing, distribution, with digital payments and enforcement of contracts in an automated manner. If applied properly, this could improve efficiency and access to markets for small businesses. We are currently assessing these issues and engaging with stakeholders to cultivate an understanding of the token economy's potential opportunities for European businesses. So this is definitely one you want to read. Scanning the European ecosystem of distributed ledger technologies for social and public good. They launched the report, and it's for co-creating a European ecosystem for DLTs for social and public good. It can be downloaded there at the link above, and I totally agree with the premises of it. Right? I'm just going to read these 3 points in particular, starting with this one. We should look into how DLT projects can strengthen civil society or the public space in context of financial inclusion, fair supply chains, or sustainable environment. But the general, they haven't even heard about what 3 words. Oh my goodness, sustainable environment? Pfft, you're not ready for that conversation. We already well over a couple hours, but the general role of DLTs here must be assessed through more than just identity or purpose of specific applications. There's also a need to understand how DLT features such as decentralization can be generally approached, and in which ways this heightens the impact of these technologies. Now, here's one thing. Main differences in use of the DLT for social and public goods often come attached with drivers for decentralization. Multiple motivations and approaches generate impact, not tied to institutional layouts or market orientations, but broader effects can be linked with investing in decentralization beyond technical structures such as governance and other levels, combined with principles as autonomy, openness, privacy, or commons-based implementations. The expansion of decentralization offers other possibilities when we observe, for instance, current and upcoming financial or organizational territories of experimentation. This is crucial as a test bed for wider and more inclusive innovations necessary for larger DLT spaces, with examples such as new collaboration platforms for resource distribution and management, which allow for alternative forms to allocate value and decision-making powers. And their summary is of 131 projects. It spans an ever fast-changing ecosystem of DLT projects. They're going to touch on commonalities, and they're also going to look at diversity between the various ambitions to achieve radical, complete transformations. So I love it. I love it. And here they also highlight to us for recommendations to decision makers on how to move this field forward. See part 3 of the report with position papers by high-level experts in the field of advisors for the DLT for Good project. I dig it. I dig it. And I'm actually going to highlight that paper here for y'all.